Tyson Fury defeats Otto Wallin on a 12-round unanimous points decision. This was a good fight. This was a competitive fight. It was more competitive than I thought it would be, definitely. It was a good, hard 12 rounds with Tyson Fury. He had to come through a lot of adversity in this fight with the cut, which I'll get into now in a sec. But Otto Wallin gave a very, very good account of himself. Showed that he's got a lot of heart. And showed that he's not as poor as many people thought him out to be. I'll admit to myself, I watched a couple of highlight videos of Otto Wallin. Now, as I said in some previous videos, they were old highlight videos. I struggled to find up-to-date highlight videos of Otto Wallin. I couldn't find any of his latest fights. Stuff like that. So I found it hard to find some of his videos, some of his highlight videos. Okay, more recent ones anyway. And in the older ones what I saw was a 6'5" southpaw, a very basic European style, very rigid. Didn't really have any great power, have any great speed. Didn't appear to have any great athleticism. So seeing that, I kind of thought, okay, well, he probably will be a bit more durable than Tom Schwartz. But realistically, I expect him to kind of go a similar way. Maybe go a bit longer, but I don't expect much out of Otto Wallin. Now in this fight, I was obviously proven wrong because he showed tremendous heart. There were times in the fight where he was really had his back against the ropes and was staring at the possibility of getting stopped because he was getting teed off on by Tyson Fury, getting body shots thrown at him, getting uppercuts and hooks thrown at him. He bit down in the gum shield, took that and kept going. Let's talk about this fight from the outset. So in the first round, Fury came out, as you know yourself, box on the back foot, popping out the jab. But straight away I noticed that Otto Wallin was able to land the left hand a couple of times, come over the jab and land the left hand. So I kind of thought, this might be intriguing, this might be interesting now. So Wallin's able to land that left hand, and he was game, definitely. So it made me think, we're going to get some rounds here. Now going to the third round, I think it was the third round when the cut started. It seemed a fairly, nothing round. And then all of a sudden, I was watching this on ESPN. You hear ESPN say, oh, there's a cut. And you look, and straight away you see in the top right-hand side, or was it left-hand side? It might have been the left-hand side of Fury's face, next to his eye. There's a cut, and it's bleeding immediately. So immediately the blood started flowing, and it looked bad. And it was really only when he sat down at ringside, he kind of took a gasp and said, oh yeah, that's a bad cut. And it was judged to be caused by a punch, which is correct. And that really made me think, if this thing starts bleeding, if this cut starts bleeding, we really could see this fight get stopped. And that's a loss for Fury. That's a technical loss for Fury, technical knockout loss for Fury. So going on into the kind of later rounds, kind of the 6th, 7th, it did get worse. It started bleeding a lot more, but the blood was flowing down kind of the side of Fury's face as opposed to into the eye. If that blood had been flowing into the eye, now I'm sure some blood did go into the eye, but it wasn't flowing completely into the eye. If some of that had gone into his eye, I think we would have seen this fight get stopped. Because if you flash back to when Vitaly Klitschko fought Lennox Lewis, that cut was at the top of the eye and the blood was flowing down into the eye. And he needed something like 70 stitches as well. So when they stopped that fight, there was no even debating that it was the right thing to do. Whereas this fight, it wasn't on top of the eye. It was just kind of to the side, and the blood was flowing down the side of Fury's face, so he could get away with it. Alright, I'm sure it still affected him, definitely. But he seemed to be able to come through that. The cut man in Tyson Fury's corner did a very, very good job of stemming the flow on that. It would kind of, bleed a bit when he obviously took a few shots on the side. But for the most part, he done a great job of controlling the cut. I can't remember the guy's name, but he done a great job of controlling that cut. And, fair play to him. He kept Fury in it. Otto Wallin, I think it was the 6th or the 7th round, he did a very cheeky little move where they were in a clinch and the blood was obviously flowing. And after the referee shouted break, Otto Wallin kind of just rubbed at the cut just to try and, I'm sure it obviously hurt Fury, but just sure to try and make the blood flow a little bit more. So a little cheeky move there from Otto Wallin. Lucky he didn't get a point deducted off him, because even ESPN Andre Ward was saying, yeah, that's a point deduction then and there, but Tony Weeks didn't. Later on in the fight, we go into the 10th round. The 10th round was a very, very tough round for Otto Wallin. He took a lot of punishment in that round. Fury really put it on him, tried to get him out of there, threw a lot of shots to the body, uppercuts on the inside and hooks, and it was a very tough round for Otto Wallin. He didn't fall over like Tom Schwartz did. He took it, he kept going, went back to his corner. Coming out for the 11th round, we hear the corner of Otto Wallin say, yeah, we might pull this guy out if he has another round like that, because he took a lot of shots, came through it. They didn't pull him out. He kept going to the end, and obviously he saw the final bell. Tyson Fury victorious. For what it's worth, he retains his lineal heavyweight title, and he picks up a version of WBC, what is it, Mayan belt or something like that he's got. One of these belts that the WBC just throw out. Next is Deontay Wilder, is what they're saying. Now, there was talk of Fury maybe fighting in December in the UK. That's definitely off the table now. Those cuts will not be healed by then, I can guarantee that. So that fight's off the table in December, a fight in the UK. February is when we're looking at Deontay Wilder next. From now to February, we're talking 5 months. Definitely think it's enough time for the cuts to heal. I'd just be more worried about the scar tissue. Because he's gone to hospital. He's got to get stitches for them cuts. I'd be worried about the scar tissue opening back up again. So that's my kind of only concern about that. But to be fair, they're not in the worst places. They could be worse. But that's my only concern, is the scar tissue opening back up again. In terms of the Wilder rematch, Fury needed a tough fight like this, definitely. He didn't need another pudding like Tom Schwartz. And I think it'll stand him in good stead for the Wilder rematch. Let's not face facts. Let's face facts here, right? This Wilder rematch, in my opinion, is still a 50-50 fight. I will pick Tyson Fury to win it because I think he'll have learned a lot from the first fight. But I definitely think that Deontay Wilder will have learned a lot too. And I see this fight as, alright, maybe it's not 50-50, but I'm seeing this as 55-45 Tyson Fury's favour. Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder is a competitive fight. And Tyson Fury needs to make sure he is on his A game. As I said before, he needs to make sure he is on his A game against Deontay Wilder, because the slightest little mistake that he makes against Deontay Wilder, gone. We've seen it before. It nearly happened in the 12th round. He needs to be very, very careful against Wilder. He needs to make sure he leaves no stone unturned. The same can be said for Deontay Wilder, because Deontay Wilder, in the first fight, he punched himself out, right? He wasn't, Anthony Joshua type gassed, but he was swinging a lot, he was missing a lot. And if he had more energy in the 12th round when he landed that right hand, who knows what might have happened. So, Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder, an intriguing fight. I'm definitely looking forward to it. But I'm intrigued. That's all I can say about Tyson Fury Wilder too. I'm intrigued by it. I'll definitely pick Fury to win. But definitely Wilder is, don't sleep on Wilder. Wilder's a very good fighter. Those are my thoughts on this. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought of the fight. Let me know, were you impressed with Fury? Were you not impressed? At the end of the day, a cut will always change things. You could be a great fighter. You could have, a guy in front of you who's not on your level. But if you're cut and there's a risk of that fight being stopped, you might have to go through a few things. You go through adversity. You might change up a few things. So, personally, I didn't think it was a terrible performance from Fury. Personally. So that's my thoughts on this. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like. Obviously, subscribe if you're new. And of course, I will talk to you after.